Across the globe, there are pockets of people who seem different, not in how they live, but in how they age. Decade after decade, their minds stay sharper, their memories clearer. Rates of dementia are mysteriously lower here, and no one could quite explain why until someone tested the water. Hidden in every glass was a trace of something unexpected. Not a vitamin, not an exotic herb, a metal. One that most people only associate with psychiatric drugs. But what if I told you it might be the brain's forgotten nutrient? The story of this element starts not in a laboratory, but in stone. Lithium, from the Greek lithos, meaning stone, is the lightest metal on Earth and the third element on the periodic table. It's scattered in trace amounts across seawater, soil, and rock, and seeps quietly into our food and water. In the 19th century, mineral springs rich in lithium became destinations for the sick and the curious. Visitors believed these waters could soothe melancholy, calm mania, and heal inflamed joints. Even soft drinks once carried it. The original 7 Up, launched in 1929, contained lithium citrate, marketed as a mood lifter and hangover cure. That all ended when the government banned lithium in beverages in the late 1940s. But its medical story was just beginning. In 1947, Australian psychiatrist John Cade stumbled on lithium's calming effects in guinea pigs, a finding that would lead to its adoption as a gold standard treatment for bipolar disorder. By the 1970s, lithium had FDA approval for psychiatric use. Then came an unexpected clue. Psychiatrists began noticing that bipolar patients taking lithium long term seemed to have lower rates of cognitive decline. Early studies backed this up. In one group of elderly bipolar patients, just 5% of those on lithium had Alzheimer's disease, compared to 33% of those not taking lithium. Large registry studies in Denmark and observational work in Japan and Texas pointed the same way. The higher the lithium in the local water supply, the lower the rates of dementia. In fact, a 2024 systematic review pulling 5 separate observational studies found that even trace lithium between just 2 and 56 micrograms per liter in drinking water was associated with lower incidence and mortality from dementia. These aren't therapeutic doses, these are environmental whispers of lithium present in the background of daily life, and yet somehow they seem to tip the odds in favor of a longer, sharper mind. For decades, these findings sat on the fringe, intriguing but without a clear explanation, until recently. What is the earliest spark that ignites the memory-robbing march of Alzheimer's disease? Why do some people with Alzheimer's like changes in their brains never develop dementia, while others decline rapidly? For decades, that trail ran cold. Now, after 10 years of work, a team at Harvard Medical School believes they've found the missing link: lithium, not as a drug, but as a naturally occurring brain nutrient. In a series of studies published in the journal Nature, they showed for the first time that lithium exists in the human brain at biologically meaningful levels, shields it from neurodegeneration, and helps maintain the health of every major brain cell type. And here's the twist. One of the very first changes in Alzheimer's disease is that lithium disappears. In brain tissue from healthy donors, lithium was abundant, but in people with mild cognitive impairment, often the earliest stage of Alzheimer's, levels had already plummeted. In advanced Alzheimer's, they were even lower. The culprit? Amyloid beta plaques, acting like molecular sponges, trapping lithium and robbing surrounding cells of its protective functions. In mice, the same pattern emerged. When researchers fed healthy mice a lithium-restricted diet, their brain lithium fell to Alzheimer's-like levels. The results were striking. More amyloid plaques, more tau tangles, myelin thinning, synapse loss, inflammation, and faster memory decline. Gene activity shifted across the entire brain. In microglia, neurons, oligodendrocytes, astrocytes, even blood vessel cells, to resemble the Alzheimer's disease profile, at doses 1,000th of those used in psychiatry. It showed no toxicity over a lifetime. So how does lithium actually keep the brain resilient? and what goes wrong when it's gone. At its core, lithium acts as a master regulator inside the brain. One of its most important jobs is to control the activity of a molecular smoking gun, the enzyme called glycogen synthase kinase 3 beta, or GSK3 beta. In healthy brains, small natural amounts of lithium keep this enzyme on a short leash. But when lithium levels drop, as they do in the earliest stages of Alzheimer's, glycogen synthase kinase 3 beta runs unchecked. The result, it accelerates the production of amyloid beta, drives tau proteins into their toxic tangle forming state, and disrupts the molecular programs that keep synapses, axons, and myelin intact. Lithium's influence is broader than one enzyme. It alters the transcriptome. That's the full set of genes being switched on and off across every major brain cell type. It keeps microglia, the brain's immune cells, in a balanced state where they can clear amyloid without triggering chronic inflammation. Without lithium, those same microglia become overactive and ineffective, releasing damaging cytokines while letting amyloid pile up. In humans without Alzheimer's, higher cortical lithium levels correlate with greater expression of presynaptic proteins like complexin 1 and 2, important for maintaining healthy synaptic communication, and with stronger performance on working memory tests. That's a clue that lithium homeostasis isn't just chemistry, it's tied directly to cognitive resilience. If that still feels abstract, picture a city. Lithium is the combination of the power grid manager, traffic controller, and the sanitation department. It keeps the lights on, ensures traffic flows, and makes sure the garbage gets picked up before it causes problems. When amyloid plaques trap lithium, it's like locking the control room and cutting the power. The lights flicker, traffic snarls, and trash piles up in the streets. Restoring lithium is like flipping the breakers and sending out the cleanup crews, allowing the city, or in this case, the brain, to function smoothly. This wasn't the first time lithium had left a trail of clues. Decades earlier, a large population study in Denmark found a clear pattern. Communities with more lithium in their drinking water had lower rates of dementia. Other work in Japan, Texas, and Scotland hinted at the same relationship. At the time, no one could explain why, but the Harvard team's findings now fit that puzzle piece exactly. Clinical studies also have been sending up flares. In some trials, lithium prevented or even reversed cognitive decline in Alzheimer's patients, though not every study was successful. One limitation we now know may have been the type of lithium salt. Standard forms like lithium carbonate can be trapped by amyloid plaques, never reaching the parts of the brain where they're needed. Even so, the signals were there. In 2013, a randomized controlled trial showed that taking just 300 micrograms a day of lithium orotate, a true microdose, stabilized cognition in Alzheimer's patients for 15 months, while the placebo group continued to decline. In mild cognitive impairment, higher dose trials lasting 1 to 2 years not only improved cognitive performance and attention, but also reduced levels of hyperphosphorylated tau in the cerebral spinal fluid, important Alzheimer's marker. Remarkably, participants on lithium stayed stable even after the study ended, while those on placebo continued to deteriorate. A meta-analysis of 8 clinical trials later found that lithium treatment might even be safer than the newer monoclonal antibody drugs for Alzheimer's, which often come with serious side effects. Looking back, the pattern is obvious. Population studies, small clinical trials, and now the Harvard team's mechanistic work all point to the same conclusion. Lithium isn't just a mood stabilizer. It may be a fundamental piece of the brain's defense system, one that's been hiding in plain sight. If lithium is part of the brain's defense system, how do we make sure we're getting enough and safely? The answer starts with understanding that the body handles lithium very differently at low and high doses. In psychiatry, lithium is prescribed at doses 50 to 300 times higher than what we naturally get from food or water. At those levels, it acts like a drug, powerful but with the potential for side effects that require careful monitoring. Nutritional lithium operates in a different range entirely. Based on decades of trace element research, Gerhard Schrauzer, one of the pioneers in this field, proposed a provisional recommended daily allowance of about 1 milligram or 1,000 micrograms of elemental lithium. This figure wasn't plucked from thin air. It comes from comparing intakes in regions with robust mental and cognitive health to those with deficiency. In the US, typical dietary intake is estimated to be between 600 micrograms to 3.1 milligrams per day, with some populations, like those in the Andes, consuming up to 30 milligrams a day without signs of harm. Schrauzer's 1 milligram target was meant as a safe, conservative baseline that still supports lithium's known roles in human biology. At these levels, lithium assists with vitamin B12 and folate transport into cells. It modulates neurotrophic factors and helps maintain the brain's chemical balance, all without the risks associated with pharmacological dosing. In over 40 years of use in Europe and the US, low dose forms like lithium orotate have not been linked to serious side effects. Natural sources include foods traditionally regarded as neurotonics: cacao, oats, seafood, seaweed, goji berries, various fruits and vegetables depending on the soil they were grown in, and egg yolks, with local drinking water often contributing a significant share. The main takeaway is that the dose makes the difference. Too little and the brain's protective systems weaken. Too much and you're in drug territory. In between lies a possible sweet spot, one that ongoing research is now trying to define. The clues were scattered: population studies, small clinical trials, unexplained resilience in certain patients, but together they point to a simple truth. Lithium isn't just a psychiatric drug. It may be an essential brain micronutrient, one that helps keep the machinery of memory running. The Harvard team's work doesn't just explain decades of curious observation. It opens the door to new strategies for prevention, early detection, and maybe even reversal of Alzheimer's disease. The challenge now is translating this into human clinical trials, defining the right dose, and learning how to protect lithium's place in the brain before it's lost. Because if lithium is part of the brain's operating system, then maintaining it isn't just chemistry, it's maintenance for the mind itself. Until next time, stay sharp and stay healthy.